China, the most populous country in the world with 1.4 billion people, is now the planet's largest contributor to climate change, responsible for around 28% of carbon dioxide emissions that warm the Earth.
3 months after torrential rains flooded much of central China's Henan province, stretches of the country's flat agricultural heartland are still submerged in several inches of water. It is one of the many calamities around the world that are giving urgency to the UN climate summit underway in Glasgow, Scotland. In the hardest hit areas of Henan, farmers are struggling after the floods destroyed most of their harvest.
自己累死累活干1年了，投进这么多钱，没见1分钱回入。 心就可难受了，一家人那个生活费啊，孩子的那个学费啊，全家的开销全部是治这个地的，这个没法说，就玉米收了一点，这个菜全部都坏了，没法说。
China, the most populous country in the world, with 1.4 billion people, is now the planet's largest contributor to climate change, responsible for around 28% of carbon dioxide emissions that warm the Earth, though the United States is the biggest polluter historically. As world leaders take part this week in the climate summit, China is being criticized for not setting a more ambitious timeline for phasing out fossil fuels. President Xi Jinping, who has not left China since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and will not be attending the summit, but sent a veteran negotiator, has said the country's carbon emissions will level off before 2030. Critics say that is not soon enough. China's government projections paint a worrying vision of the future, rising sea levels threatening major coastal cities, including Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Hong Kong, and melting glaciers and permafrost imperiling Western China's water supply, and grand infrastructure projects such as the railroads across the Tibetan Plateau. Top government scientists also predict an increase in droughts, heat waves, and extreme rainfall across China that could threaten harvests and endanger reservoirs and dams, including Three Gorges Dam.
I think these impacts are triggering a national awakening. I think people are increasingly asking why has extreme weather events like this happened? What are the root causes? And I think this is bringing the Chinese policymakers and the general public to a realization that we are indeed in a climate emergency.
Meanwhile, China's people are already suffering the brunt of climate change, and in a common pattern around the world, those who have contributed least to the warming and have the fewest resources to adapt often feel the pain most acutely.